Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Good afternoon from Nigeria. Good morning, good evening from India and different parts of the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So welcome to the beginning of a new week. Our speaker for today is His Grace Sriman Sahadeva Prabhu.
Haribo!
Haribo. Thank you very much. So, Sriman Sahadeva Prabhu, you're welcome.
Hare Krishna.
See how excited the devotees are just to hear that the professor himself is going to be doing the justice.
No, Babu, I'm eagerly anxious to hear. Babu has been learning special thing now. He has to give us some knowledge.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, you're welcome. So, if you're ready, we can put the verse on the screen and then we can start.
Okay, Hare Krishna. All right, let's do that.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutala Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swaminiti Namini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shtatatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutala Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachaline Nirvishisha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatari. So thank you all for being here today, and it's a great honor and privilege I have today to be speaking Bhagavatam. As some of you may know, I wasn't the originally scheduled speaker for today, but things changed, and it's an opportunity which I jumped on it to say something. So I seek the blessings of the Supreme Lord and his pure devotees, great devotees, that I may be able to repeat what they have said. And also, in addition to that, share whatever little realizations or understanding I have on this particular text. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Naram Tamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayashu Apadrishu Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamashlaka Bhakti Bhavaiti Naishtiki. So today's text is taken from SRIMAD Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, text number 22. Rajovacha Dharma Bravishi Dharma Jia Dharmo Shivrishya Rupadrik Yat Dharma Krita Hashtanam Shuchakashya Pitad Bhavit Rajovacha Dharmam Bravishi Dharma Jia Dharmo Shivrishya Rupadrik Yat Dharma Krita Hashtanam Shuchakashya Pitad Bhavit Rajovacha Dharmam Bravishi Dharma Jia Dharmo Shivrishya Rupadrik Yad Dharma Krita Shuchakashya Pitad Bhavit. Synonyms. Raja Uvacha, the king said, Dharmam, religion. Bravishi, as you speak. Dharmajya, or one who knows the codes of religion. Dharmaha, the personality of religion. Asi, you are. Vrisharopadrik, in the disguise of a bull. Sorry. Hold on for a second, please. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, brother. That is our super Papa.
Thank you, Salika Prabhu. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes. I'm sorry, I received a call from the original person who was scheduled to speak. So, Vrisharupadrik in the disguise of a bull, yat whatever, Dharmakritaha, one who acts irreligiously, Shtanam, place, Shuchakasya, of the identifier, P, also, Tat, that, Bhavit, becomes. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The king said, "Oh, you who are in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion, and you speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of religious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. You are no other than the personality of religion. Purport. A devotee's conclusion is that no one is directly responsible for being a benefactor or mischief monger without the sanction of the Lord. Therefore, he does not consider anyone to be directly responsible for such action. But in both the cases, he takes it for granted that either benefit or loss is God sent, and thus it is his grace of God, Krishna. In case of benefit, no one will deny that it is God sent. But in case of loss or reverses, one becomes doubtful about how the Lord could be so unkind to his devotee as to put him in great difficulty. Jesus Christ was seemingly put into such great difficulty, being crucified by the ignorant, but he was never angry at the mischief mongers. That is the way of accepting a thing, either favorable or unfavorable. Thus, for a devotee, the identifier is equally a sinner, like the mischief monger. By God's grace, the devotee tolerates all reverses. Maharaj Parikshit observed this, and therefore he could understand that the bull was no other than the personality of religion himself. In other words, a devotee has no suffering at all because so-called suffering is also God's grace for a devotee who sees God in everything. The cow and the bull never placed any complaint before the king for being tortured by the personality of Kali, although everyone lodges such complaints before the state authorities. The extraordinary behavior of the bull made the king conclude that the bull was certainly the personality of religion, for no one else could understand the finer intricacies of the codes of religion. Oma jana timrandas ya chiana jana shalakaya chakshiran militam ye natasma shri gurave namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Ye Nabhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Nama Amma Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swamini Tinamini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shritatmane Shri Gura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Nama Amma Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Guravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastatya Dishatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pritayate Krishna Ya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guratvije Namaha Nama Brahmanya Devyago Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagaditaya Krishna Govindaya Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasati Gura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna. So thank you all for being here today. Like I said, it's an honor and a privilege for me to have this opportunity to speak something from the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. So this is a very interesting text because Maharaj Parikshit is telling us whom he was dealing with. Because Maharaj Parikshit was dealing with Mother Earth, the personality of Dharma, as Dharmaraj himself in the form of a bull, Mother Bhumi in the form of a cow, and the personality of Kali in the form of a Sudra. So Maharaj Parikshit was able to tell that this bull is not an ordinary bull. This bull must be the personality of religion himself. Why? You see, it is said in the purport by Srila Prabhupada that Maharaj Parikshit understood the code of religion. Whenever we say code, code means it's hidden. No. And that is why it is said that the Srimad Bhagavatam, when one does not read the Srimad Bhagavatam and just want to read, okay, yes, I got locked out. The sutras, no, the sutras are understood to be codes. And so when one read any of the sutras, we have many of them, without first reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, then it's not going to be possible for such a person to understand the sutras. Because the sutras are codes, and the Srimad Bhagavatam is the direct opening of the information found in any of the sutras. So we have the Bhagavatam here, as we're describing by Maharaj Parikshit. When he knew the code as exemplified by the bull and the cow, he could understand their true identities. How? Because even though the bull and the cow had been punished, had been brutalized, but they never lodged a complaint. They never complained for all the atrocities that had been meted out to them. And because they did not complain, Maharaj Parikshit, who was the knower of the truth of the Shastras, of the scriptures, immediately could understand that this bull and this cow are not ordinary beings. And in fact, he specifically mentioned about the bull, that this bull is the personality of Dharma himself. This is not the first time Dharma has assumed different forms to enact pastime. No. Dharmaraj assumed the form of a deer some time ago when the Pandavas were in exile. No. So these great personalities can assume different forms for different pastimes to teach different lessons to different people, to those who want to learn. But what I find very interesting from this verse is that one who perpetrates and one who observes the perpetration, both of them are in the same soup. Just as it is said in the scriptures, those who kill cows and those who enable the cow killing, they all suffer the same fate. They all get punished. And so when one sees an evil, when one finds somebody doing something wrong and does not do anything or say anything, that person is as equally bad as the person who is performing the sinful act. So these things we need to understand as devotees. Because as devotees or as aspiring devotees, we always want to do the right thing. God, Krishna, is a person. And as such, he has his likes and dislikes. And so when we know that Dharma, religion, or that which cannot be done without, is being perpetrated in a very wrong way and say nothing, then we are also liable to seeing Dharma suffer. What is Dharma? Sometimes Dharma is defined as religion, but Dharma goes beyond the religion, because religion is supposed to lead us to Dharma. And that is why Krishna states the popular and the famous verse 1866, that abandon all sorts of religion and just surrender unto me. Abandon all forms of religion, because religion is supposed to lead us to Dharma. Dharma means that which we cannot live without. In other words, we cannot live without giving love or receiving love, regardless of who we call ourselves, regardless of where we think we belong to. We always want to give love, and we always want to receive love. That is Dharma. That has nothing to do with the religion. I may belong to Hindu today and become a Buddhist tomorrow. My religion has changed, but there is one constant effect which never changes. That is love. Whether I belong to Hindu or Buddhism or whatever, I'm still looking for love. I want to give and I want to receive. So that is Dharma. So Srila Prabhupada says that our Dharma, which is a religion, or that is contrary to Dharma, is when you have pepper and sugar. When the pepper tastes sweet like sugar, and sugar burns like pepper, that is our Dharma. That is Srila Prabhupada's simple analogy to explaining what Dharma and Adharma is. So Maharaj Parikshit told the Buddha that you are Dharmajya. You are knower of religion. Why? Because you are the personality of religion himself. And those who are ignorant of religious activities are called Adharmajya. Adharma is the opposite of Dharma. In Sanskrit, makes the opposite of the word. So jnana means knowledge. Ajnana means ignorance. So Dharma and Dharmajya, which is the personality of religion, the knower of religion, the opposite of that is Adharmajya. So many of us are Adharmajya because there are codes of living in this material world. And those codes were given by Dharmaraj. And so whenever one follows such codes, he is dharmic. So there are different codes for different classes of people in this world, in this material world. And so somebody may be acting very, very ignorantly, but he may not be adharmic as long as he's following the religious codes. There are some people who are so low class to the point that they may even eat dog. They may eat dog meat. You know? They may even kill human beings. Yet we will call them religious. Why? Because there is a particular sort of religious tenet for a certain class of people where they may have to offer sacrifices to Kali. I don't mean Kali as Yuga, but Kali as a goddess. Goddess Kali with her fearsome outlook, blood dripping everywhere, so many hands with red eyes, long tongue, and people offer sometimes human beings. People kill human beings and offer them to this goddess. And yet we cannot condemn them to be irreligious. They are religious. Why? Because they are following a particular set of religious tenets, which are meant for a certain class of people. So we all know there are three classes of people in this material world: those in the mode of ignorance, those in the mode of passion, those in the mode of goodness. But all of these three modes do not help one become a devotee of the Lord until one has consciously understood that these modes are there to help me as a stepping stone to get to the real level of where I truly belong to. We all truly, our original constitutional position is that of a servant of the Supreme Lord. We are all eternally servants of the Lord. These modes of ignorance, passion, goodness, they help us become, sometimes we remember Krishna, sometimes we forget about Krishna, sometimes we want to satisfy our own senses, sometimes we just want to shut off everything and everything and do nothing. So these modes keep battling each other and they influence us. So sometimes we are influenced by the mode of goodness, we become all kind, sometimes influenced by the mode of passion, sometimes in the mode of ignorance. But these modes are supposed to help guide us gradually to get to the level where we surrender everything to Krishna. And so those who are surrendered devotees of the Lord, they do not blame anything on anyone. Whether it is good or bad, they only see one hand in it, and that is Krishna's hand. And so when we are happy, we know it's Krishna's grace. When we are sad, we understand it's Krishna's grace. Even though it may not be something we want, it may not be something we expect, but with gradual training, we will have to come to the platform of accepting that nothing, not even a blade of grass, can move without the sanction of Krishna. And so if my sweet Lord Krishna has accepted this thing to happen to me, then he knows why. So I accept it in that faith. Whereas those who are non-devotees of the Lord, when something good happens to them, they attribute the expectation or the good thing to God. When something unexpected happens to them, they level it against Satan. They level it against evil, demons, because to them, they see two things. They see good and evil. But for a devotee of the Lord, all he sees is good and nothing else. So for us, as ordinary struggling devotees, we see the front and the back side of Krishna. And in the scriptures, it is said that the front side of Krishna is good. And that is, when we say good, it is per our calculation. When things we expect come our way, we see them as good. When things we do not expect come our way, we see them as negative. There was a time, Mother, what's her name? I've forgotten her name. But she was speaking on our platform. But Achita Gopi, she was speaking on this platform, and she made this remark that some time ago, before the COVID, all she used to do mostly was daily worship. And then the COVID came, and because the devotees were no more getting together at the temple, the altar service kind of declined a little bit. Of course, there is a standard altar service, no matter what. But because devotees were no more going to the temple, all the temples were shut down. She was saying, oh my God, this is my service. And now I do not have service. What am I going to do? So initially, she was cursing the COVID. The COVID pandemic, she was cursing it. And then from this curse came out the opportunity for her to start speaking. And now she speaks to big audience from all over the world. And so this is how devotees see things. Initially, because we are living beings with so much faults and imperfections, when things happen to us that we do not expect, of course, we have every reason to complain, but we should not complain for long. We should quickly rise above such complaints and come to the level of understanding that this is Krishna's design. What am I going to learn from this experience? Krishna wants me to learn from this experience. Otherwise, this wouldn't have happened to me. Krishna controls everything, especially when one is a surrendered devotee of the Lord. There were so many things that happened to Arjuna that ordinarily Arjuna could never have overcome them. But Arjuna overcame them all without a sweat. It is said that there was only one time in the entire battlefield of Kurukshetra where Arjuna was actually sweating. And that was when Arjuna was being attacked by Jayadratha. Jayadratha had taken a boon from Lord Shiva, and he was a very powerful warrior that Arjuna could not have fought against. Well, we all know from the Mahabharata that Arjuna eventually defeated Jayadratha, and not only Jayadratha. So when Jayadratha confronted Arjuna, fighting him, and we all know Lord Krishna had vowed that he was not going to fight. So Lord Krishna was not going to fight. But Lord Krishna, seeing how Arjuna, his dearest devotee, was struggling, told him something. He reminded him. He says, Arjuna, I want to remind you, this Jayadratha has a boon from Lord Shiva. You cannot fight him. The boon states that if even you're able to fight him and then sever his head, if you cut off his head with your sharp arrows, as soon as the head falls on the ground, your head is also going to fall off from the trunk of your body. And so what are you going to do? And so what Krishna did was that Krishna, actually, I just learned from my SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM class today that Krishna, being the charioteer of Arjuna, Arjuna retained the same chariot throughout the entire battlefield of Kurukshetra. For all those 18 days of fighting, Arjuna maintained the same chariot, whereas almost everyone else had to change chariots to chariot. But because Krishna was with Arjuna and was giving him all protection, Arjuna maintained the same chariot. And when Krishna told Arjuna about this boon Sorry. Sorry about that. So Lord Krishna reminded Arjuna that this Jayadratha has a boon from Lord Shiva. And so what did Lord Krishna do? Lord Krishna stamped his lotus feet on the chariot that he was driving, and then the horses and the chariot went down a little bit. And so when Jayadratha released his arrow, instead of aiming at Arjuna's head, it aimed at Arjuna's crown, and Arjuna's crown was down. No. So Lord Krishna could have brought down the chariot all the way down to the point that Jayadratha's arrow could not have even touched the helmet of Arjuna. But what did Krishna do? He pressed the foot on the lotus foot in the chariot, and the chariot went down a little bit, and the arrow, instead of hitting Arjuna's head, hit the crown. So it is. And when it hit the crown, Arjuna lost his crown, but Arjuna was able to hit the head of Jayadratha. And Jayadratha's head was directed by Krishna's instructions. It went all the way and fell on the lap of Jayadratha's father, who was having a meditation. And when he woke up and saw the head on his lap, he immediately pushed it away, and he also died. And so this is how Krishna protects his devotees. No matter what, Krishna is going to protect his devotees. It may appear as if that you've been hit by the sharp arrow of Jayadratha and your helmet is down, but that is Krishna's way of saving your head. So that does not mean that being a devotee, you're never going to face hardships or difficulties. Hardships, difficulties may come our way, but we are told and advised that whenever there is any sort of calamity in our lives, we should be thankful to Krishna that, oh, Krishna, thank you. It could have been worse. It could have been worse. So that is the mood of a devotee. So for a devotee, whether it is good, whether it is bad, we still give thanks to Krishna. We give thanks to Krishna. So in this verse, Marriage Parikshit is telling us what is the qualification of a devotee. If we refer to Gita 9:15, Sarika Prabhu, if you're there, 9:15, Krishna says something very interesting there to Arjuna. It's a very nice verse, and I try to remember it because it's like a time, 9:15 is a time. So, excuse me. Let me see what Krishna says. No. 9:15. Okay, 9:15 says, others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. So these are different forms that different people worship. But in the purport here, Srila Prabhupada says that Arjuna is like a Mahatma because he serves the Supreme Lord without a second. Our attention, our service to Krishna should be one without, it should be the Supreme. It should be the Supreme. Our supreme goal is to please Guru and Krishna. Everything else is secondary. And once we are able to establish our prime importance in life, that is service to Guru and Krishna, everything else is taken care of by the Supreme Lord himself. And so Sri Krishna explains again in the same Bhagavad Gita 8:7, chapter 8, verse 7, and then 7 verses down. Salika 8:7, if you can put it up for me. All right, 8:7. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time, carry out your prescribed duty of fighting with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me. You will attain me without doubt. What is more beautiful than this? Krishna is saying that we should surrender to him, but he's telling us how to do that. Surrendering to Krishna does not mean that we give up everything we can do and just do one particular thing. For example, like some of us, when we first joined devotional service, the understanding was that in order for one to be a devotee means that you have to live in the temple, do away with anything and everything else. But that is not what Krishna says. Krishna says that no matter what you're doing, if you concentrate your attention, your mind on me, eventually you will come to me. I mean, when there is a war, there are people who are on the war front, and there are others who are maybe in the background treating the wounded. They're all on the war front. You know, they are all called the soldiers who are on the battlefield. There are those who are on the war front, like those who go out to preach. Those, Krishna also said that those who preach the glories of my transcendental activities, there can never be anyone dearer to me than such people. So there are different forms of preaching. There are those who go out there on the street and then they do the preaching. There are those who work hard and then use their hard-earned money to support the preaching work. And they are all part and parcel of the preaching. Just as Krishna says in this text that the perpetrator and those who observe the perpetrator committing the perpetration, they are all in the same soup. So those who are in the war front preaching and those who are at the background similarly supporting the war front preachers, they all attain Krishna eventually. So same thing in Gita 8:14, which is 7 verses down what we just read from 8:7, 8:14. What does Krishna say in 8:14? Salika, can you put it up for me, please?
Yeah, it's up, coming up.
Okay. So 8:14, Krishna says, for one who always remembers me without deviation, I'm easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. So 2 important things. One who remembers me without deviation. remembering Krishna without deviation, and then constant engagement in devotional service. So if we always remember Krishna, no matter what the situation is, good, bad, we still remember Krishna. We see Krishna's hand in anything and everything in our lives. And despite all the seemingly unexpected, unwanted mishap happening in our lives, we keep performing our devotional service to Krishna. What is devotional service? Krishna says that whatever you eat, whatever you offer as a sacrifice, do it for me. So whatever we're doing, whatever we're eating, whatever we say, whatever we listen to, if they are all for the pleasure of Krishna, this is devotional service. So how do we do that in our daily lives? For those of us who do not live in the temple, we work in the corporate world. So while working, we think of Krishna, how Krishna is so kind that he's giving us this opportunity to have a job so that we can earn something, so we can put some sort of fruit or water on the altar for Guru and Krishna. So as we work and have such meditation, it is also part of rendering service to Guru and Krishna. It is. It is. So devotional service can be difficult and can also be very simple, depending on how we as practitioners want to see it and want to practice it. Depending on how we want to practice devotional service, it can either be very easy, it can be very difficult. It all depends. So Lord Krishna has already created what we need to do. Just like when we buy a television set, there is a manual. The manufacturer knows the gadget much better than we, the people using the gadget. And therefore, it is said that the Dharma cannot be manufactured. It has already been manufactured by Krishna. And so, in every age, there is a particular prescribed Dharma for the people. I was explaining initially that Srila Prabhupada says that Dharma means that when you bite on a pepper, it burns. And when you taste sugar, it's sweet. Our Dharma is when you bite on pepper, it's sweet. And when you put sugar on your tongue, it burns. That is our Dharma. So in this age, there is a specific method given to us in this age to realize Krishna. And that is why Vedavyas, when he was compiling the Vedas, he put into consideration the factors that are going to be troublesome to this particular yuga, which is Kali, because he knew that this Kali yuga is coming in. And he was wondering how the people in this age are going to benefit and be able to attain Krishna. And so he put down the very, very steps that as people living in this age, when we do take to this path, we'll be able to attain Krishna, just as those who lived in the Satya Yuga attained Krishna. And so in this Yuga, which is Kali Yuga, the Dharma for this age is chanting of the holy names of the Lord. And so when one chants the holy names of the Lord and offer whatever he or she eats to the Supreme Lord on the altar, or sometimes in the mind, Manaseva, That is the surest way of attaining Krishna in this age. It is not so convenient. I'm not saying impossible. It is possible to practice whatever previous ages practiced to attain Krishna in this age, but it's very, very difficult. The easiest and the most assuring way of attaining Krishna in this age is Yugadam. And that is Harinama, 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 Eva Kevalam. That is chanting the holy names of the Lord, chanting the holy names of the Lord, chanting the holy names of the Lord. And so this japa meditation is very, very important. Chanting the holy names of the Lord have different forms. We have the form chanting it on our japa bead, chanting the mantra in our mind, kirtan, singing, dancing, reading scriptures, hearing scriptures. All these are japa. Because all these different aspects are helping us remember Krishna. So what I would like to conclude on is that when someone commits crime, that person is suffering. When someone sees another person committing a crime and does nothing about it, that person indirectly is also going to suffer from it. When you see evil, for example, in the US, there is this popular saying, when you see something, say something, you know, because we have all these, excuse me, we have all these people going around and trying to kill people for no reason. Sometimes one may see somebody do something suspicious, but says nothing. And because he said nothing, this person is able to go ahead and then commit his atrocity. So there is this popular saying, you see something, you say something. So when we see something wrong, we have to say something. Somebody shared something on the WhatsApp platform some time ago, like when you see something, this is be slow to judging. Don't be hasty in judging. And I remember making a comment from that posting that, yes, we must be very slow to judging, but at the same time too, we should be very careful that we do not do things that will make people say the negative things or the wrong things about us when we have actually not committed such crimes. So I was reminded of a pastime class that His Holiness Bhakti Vasudeva Maharaj gave some time ago, that there was this sheikh, a Muslim saintly person in the month of Ramadan, who was supposed to be fasting. And then some Muslim people from the community thought he was smoking cigarette. Why? Because he had a piece of chalk in his mouth. And because it was cold, when he opens his mouth, there was steam coming out of his mouth. And so they saw that, and they concluded that this person is smoking cigarette. How can a whole sheikh be smoking cigarette? So they said something. And then it was found out that he actually wasn't smoking. So the gist of what that pastime was that if one does not want to be accused of smoking cigarette, then stop sticking piece of chalk in your mouth. In other words, if we do not want people to say something negative about us, first of all, we should try to do the right thing. Because when we do not do the right thing, it is the nature of people in this world to say something. But for one who is a true devotee, whenever somebody says or does something negative or something that he or she is not very happy with, he or she, being a devotee, sees Krishna's hand in it. And because he sees Krishna's hand in it, he does not put blame on anybody. And so Maharaj Parikshit was able to tell that this bull is not an ordinary person, because despite all the atrocities that he'd been through, he never accused anybody of anything. And so just by that act, Maharaj Parikshit was able to tell that this must be a great person. And he knew this is the personality of Dharma himself. So as devotees, we should try to see Krishna's hand in all of our lives. That does not mean that we act stupid, and then when something happens to us, we say that this is Krishna's will, so we accept it. But when we act according to the instructions of the scriptures, according to the guidance of the acharya and the senior devotees, and something evil happens, we still see Krishna's hand in it. Hare Krishna. Any question, any comment, any sharing of realizations on this important text? And thank you for being here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Professor Prabhu SAHADEVA. And I think all the devotees will agree with me that there could not be better judgment to this verse than what we've had. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
That's beautiful. Actually, philosophical verses like this, they bring out so many questions, so many thoughts that has been going in the head. And for me, I think I have several questions coming from this discourse. But I want to request devotees, when anyone asks a question or comment, should indicate by raising their hands, using the emoji, or by directly raising their hands. We'll call you to give your comment or ask your questions. So, Prabhu, this very first thing that caught my mind when we started the lecture was the definition of religion and dharma. Yeah. And I know that oftentimes there is so much of confusion about the use of these two words. The definition, the differentiation of dharma and religion, for Westerners, just like the word man or the mind, or when we use the word Atman, at different levels of understanding, it could mean several things. But for Vaishnavas, I don't think there is a difference between religion and dharma. That is my understanding, previous understanding, that religion and dharma is the same thing. But there are Swadharma, which is the original dharma or duty of the soul. Or then there is other dharmas, which relates to the body, which relates to the mind and senses. But when we say dharma or religion in its essence, according to the definition of Srila Prabhupada, it means religion. And religion at that level means dharma. But when you say Buddhist religion, Christian religions, I oftentimes take a bold step to correct these misconceptions when I go, because I do a lot of interfaith discussions. So, and I most often, based on Srila Prabhupada's teachings, to emphasize that there is a wide gap between strata of faith and religion, because most oftenly Westerners consider faith to be religion. And for us as a Vaishnava, religion means dharma. Dharma means religion. But for them, they think strata of faith is religion, because there is Christian faith, there is Buddhist faith, there is HARE KRISHNA faith. There are so many faiths, Ekanka faith, but they are not religion. These are the faith that individual may have, and that is what can change. But when we talk about religion, religion cannot be changed. And religion and dharma cannot be separated, because they are the same thing. Although there are religions at different stages, in the mode of goodness, passion, ignorance, and the transcendental level of religion, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. So, but when you say the Christian and Buddhist faith, my mind went straight and start wondering, maybe for the purpose of this discussion, using that, I want to clarify.
Well, Hare Krishna, that's a very important question plus realization you're sharing with us today. Yes, in so many pages of Srila Prabhupada's books, he sometimes writes religion to be synonymous to Dharma. And so many other times also, he indicates that religion is different from Dharma. It all depends on the context and the people he is speaking to. So religion, like you rightly said, religion, of course, is an English language. And English language is also very interesting because the English borrowed lots of their languages from different languages. So religion actually is like Latin, which is religio. So re means again. And that's why even in English we say, like maybe somebody does his work and gets it wrong, the teacher says, go and correct it. So it says correction. After you've done the correction and then you get it wrong, it says re-correction. You know, so you have to do it again. So religio, religion means that we are connecting, which is more in terms of word-wise in Sanskrit, is yoga. Because yoga is directly defined as yoke, to connect, yoga. So religion is to help us to connect again to Krishna. So religion, in a sense, is like the path that is leading us the connection to Krishna. And after we have connected with Krishna, then what do we do? What we do with Krishna after religion has helped connect us to Krishna is what is Dharma. And that is what we cannot do without. That is, we cannot live in this world or wherever without performing service, giving service or receiving service. And so Dharma means that we are doing what originally, constitutionally, is our makeup. Whereas religion is also meant to be like that, because religion is helping us, remind us to understand that there is a supreme being, no matter how the description is, but the understanding from all different religions is that there is a higher superhuman being, supreme spirit, that we all should bow to. There is a supreme force. So that is good. But most of us institutionalize it and say that if you do not belong to here, you've lost it. That is when religion becomes minuscule, because religion cannot be put in a capsule and put in a pocket where you say that if you do not come to me, you're not going to have it. It's spread all over and we all have it. So Dharma and religion, like you rightly said, there is no difference depending on the understanding of what the person one may be speaking to. But when one is speaking to like people who are like, I was going to say, ordinary general people, who do not understand that we are by nature designed to serve, and the best being to serve is God, is Krishna. Then we have to bring out the difference between a religion as we have institutionalized from Dharma. And that is why oftentimes it is said that when people refer to Hare Krishnas as Hindus, Srila Prabhupada is quick to refute that. It says we are not Hindus. Hindus are like a group set of people worshiping God in a particular form, doing things in a particular form. No, our path is called Sanatana Dharma. Srila Prabhupada oftentimes will say that Sanatana means eternal, and Dharma means that things we cannot do without. For example, like I said, Srila Prabhupada was saying that the Dharma of pepper is to produce heat. I mean, if you say that the religion of pepper is to produce heat, it will not make a lot of sense to especially a Western person. But if you said the Dharma of pepper is to produce heat, to somebody, an Oriental person, or say somebody from the East, he will understand that, yes, this is the nature. This is the nature of the pepper, is to produce heat. The nature of sugar is to produce sweetness. The nature of fire is to produce heat and to give illumination. And so when you see fire and the fire is not giving illumination, it's fake fire. When you see fire and it's not producing heat, it's a fake fire. So that's all I can say about Dharma and the religion, that depending on the circumstance, it means the same thing and also does not mean the same thing.
Thank you.
I don't know if that helps answer your tough question.
You're right. That is interesting. Before we go off the topic, Simon Varaya Prabhu is up, and I know he is going to make some comments on this, and
yes,
I'm happy.
That would be awesome. Yes.
There are a few other questions, but this topic, the way you've answered it, is just the nature of the way a devotee will always answer this kind of a question. Very, very technically answered. Thank you very much.
We say Achintya Veda Veda, you know, we free ourselves. It's a very nice philosophy. You free yourselves all the time. Okay, Shivamara Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you.
All glories to Gurudev and Prabhupada. All glories to all of you on the platform. Okay, so just some quick comment. Of course, I had a question, but I would like to comment on the question of Salika Prabhu. A comment, maybe also may leave you more in doubt or to research more on this topic. So if Dharma is like sometimes we want to say the word is superior to religion. That is usually what the devotees sometimes say, superior to religion. But anyway, for want of correct synonym, we say religion. That's what people say often. But then we shouldn't forget this verse, Sarva Dharma Pariteja. So if Dharma is that which you cannot give up, which cannot be separated, yes, from us. But why did Krishna say you should give it up? Why did Krishna say give up all sorts of religion? Okay. Or attaining love of God. And then the first verse he cited was Sarva Dharma Pariteja, and Lord Chaitanya said that is external. Go deeper. So so many things, and then again you have to see, when we say the word Sanatana Dharma or Paro Dharma, so that also gives another connotation. So Dharma in itself Dharma in itself can be very subjective. It depends on how you're using it, so it could be very, very subjective. Otherwise, Sarva Dharma Parityaja, Krishna says, give up all sorts of religion, right? So which means that something has to do with that. Right? So anyway, I want to leave it at that because the question that I wanted to ask could deviate our mind from, this point, which maybe somebody else may want to speak on. Otherwise, my question was going to be on when we say Krishna is the doer, Krishna, everything is Krishna, is Krishna's wish, that that's what I wanted to comment or ask the question about. But this one is very important, understanding that using the word Dharma can be very subjective if you don't know what type of Dharma you're talking about. Even Swadharma, Krishna said, give it up. Give up in the sense that surrender to me, which means something is still higher than that. So anyway, it's a very deep subject matter. So I just thought of adding that point. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. As always, His Grace Shrimad Prabhu. Yes, it's a very difficult subject matter, and it is always going to be subjective. That's what I was trying to say. It depends on the context, because Srila Prabhupada himself sometimes translate Dharma to be religion, and other times does not translate Dharma as religion. But the 1866 you quoted, which I also mentioned, Srila Prabhupada translated Dharma to be religion, because what Srila Prabhupada was helping us to understand is that Lord Krishna is telling us that we should just give up whatever we are doing and just surrender unto him. So the word religion is a noun. Religious is like adjective. So sometimes somebody may say that, oh, this guy, he goes to work very religiously, which means that there is some sort of dedication. There is some sort of dedication to his work ethic, which may have nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with God. That's what English language is very, very much short of appropriate words when it comes to spirituality, because you find words to explain things that you do. And because most English-speaking world, from the very beginning of the language, were not as godly as other communities. They didn't have, and we still do not have, lots of important words that we can use to express and explain spiritual topics. No, because like we talk of faith, but in Sanskrit, they have different words for faith, which means different things. Even in French also, like Shumbarabha, you speak very French beautifully. In English, we only have one word for a and the, But in French, for example, they have two words for a and the, because in French, they have words to express feminine and masculine objects. Whereas in English, they do not care whether it's masculine or feminine, as long as they are not beings, they are not animals, and they are other things. They care less about female and male. But in French, they care about male and female. How on earth in English do you say that a door is a male and a window is female? But in English, in French, they see that the door is male and the window is female, because door is like the main and the window is like not the main. So in Sanskrit, they have specific words which makes it a bit difficult when it gets translated into English. So like Shimamara Prabhu was saying, it's kind of subjective and it requires some experience for a devotee to explain what Dharma is and what not Dharma is, what Dharma is in face of its likeness, similarities, or the definition as religion is. It can be very difficult. So thank you, Shimamara Prabhu. But I think you were also saying something about, I've forgotten what you were saying. It says a question.
Because of action.
Yeah. Anyway, if the network may fluctuate because I'm driving, but let me just say that quick. So we say that Krishna is the.
Oh yeah, Krishna is the doer.
Krishna is the doer. Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes we may stretch that, more than necessary, because there's an example. There's a father who has two daughters, and one is married to a farmer, and one is married to a bricklayer, somebody who has a factory of bricks, molding bricks.
Yeah.
So when the father visited the daughter who is married to a farmer, and the daughter asked his father to pray for them so that there could be rain, because without enough rain, then they cannot have a good harvest. So he's praying that there should be plenty of rain. And then the father said, okay, I will pray for you. So the father went to the other family, the daughter married to the man, the man making bricks. And the daughter said, please pray so that there will be enough sunlight, so that my husband's business can prosper. Otherwise, so much rain, we cannot make bricks. So now the father has to pray. Does he ask Krishna bring rain, or does he ask Krishna send sunlight? So in this case, whatever happens, someone is going to say that the father doesn't pray right. If it rains, the daughter who is married to the brick maker will say, oh no, my father didn't pray well. God is not doing well. And then if it's sunlight and it's dry and there's not enough rain, and the other daughter is going to say that God is not doing the work, or his father's prayer is not being answered. So under this kind of circumstance, at what point you say is God's doing? Two different people asking God for different things, based on their different conditions. Yeah. So I hope you get that. So sometimes,
Yes, I do.
we push this God is the doer thing, and then sometimes it doesn't make much sense.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, thank you, Shimamara Prabhu. Thank you. That question actually came up in my SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM class this morning. So I'm happy I attended the class this morning, so I'll be able to share what went on there with you all here. And that is, like Krishna is saying, Srila Prabhupada actually also was saying in the purport that for a devotee, those who have truly dedicated their lives to Krishna, no matter what, good or bad, expected, unexpected. Whatever happens in their lives, they say that this is Krishna's mercy. I also said that we should be very careful about this understanding that whatever happens is Krishna's grace. I mean, if it's Krishna's handiwork that this thing happens to me, who am I to complain? And so that means that as a devotee, no matter what happens to us, we don't have to complain. But there are certain things we need to complain. And that is when somebody does not follow the religious codes, when someone does not follow what he's supposed to be doing and some things go wrong, then one has himself to blame. For example, if I have to catch a flight by 11:30, that is what the time says, that the plane is going to leave at 11:30. And I get there 11:45. And when I get there, the plane is already gone. How can I blame Krishna that, okay, it's Krishna's will that this plane leaves at 11:45? If I made everything possible to catch the flight at 11:30 and somehow I couldn't get there by 11:30, then I may say, okay, this was Krishna's will. But it is often said that those who live very close to the bus station, they always miss the bus. Because some of us are devotees, are trying to be devotees, we oftentimes take things for granted, thinking that, we are devotees of Krishna, so Krishna is going to protect us, and we act silly. When we act silly and we suffer the consequences, yes, in one sense, we may say this is Krishna blessing us, but we have called upon ourselves such a particular reaction. For example, a parent has his children, he loves his children, he doesn't want to whip the child, but when the child misbehaves, the parent will whip the child. It is also out of love, but the child is suffering from the love the parent have for him. Whereas when the child does what the parents want, he will be pampered, which is also an expression of love. But in this case, the child enjoys the pampering. Whereas when the child disobeys, the father or the mother extends the love for the child, but the child suffers. And so when we do things right and things go wrong, we have to see Krishna's hand in it. When we act stupid and things go wrong, yes, Krishna has made it happen, but it is based on our nonsense. So we do not have to put every blame on Krishna when things go wrong. We should first of all ask ourselves, what was I supposed to do that I did not do right? There was a time there was this same topic being discussed, and His Grace Srimad Mahaprabhu gave this example. Somebody goes out there to do book distribution, and is unable to distribute books. He comes back to the temple and says, well, I tried, but Krishna did not want it to happen that way. And so I was unable to distribute books. But he was unable to distribute books probably because he doesn't know the art of distributing books. And so when this devotee comes back to the temple and is being educated as to how to approach and talk to people and explain what you have in your hand, at least read the caption of the book, know the content of the book, so you may be able to say what is inside the book to tell the person you want to give this book to, then you might be able to sell. And so it is very easy for us as devotees to put all the blame on Krishna that, well, it's Krishna's will. Krishna didn't want this to happen. But we should never fall prey to such traps, because if we do that, we will never grow in our spiritual life. We should do the needful. We should do what the scriptures tell us. We should do what the saints tell us. We should do what the Guru tells us. And after we've done all what has been told to us by all these 3 different disciplines, and we still do not make a headway, then at that point, we surrender to Krishna. It's like, it's Krishna, that is your will. That's all I can say in that regard, Srimad Prabhu, but it's true. The same thing is in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 30, where Krishna says that if even one kills a Brahmin, Brahma Hatya, and is still engaged in devotional service, such a person should be considered saintly. And in that purpose, Srila Prabhupada was very, very heavy that devotees should not use this as a right to commit stupid things, But Krishna is saying that, and actually from the hermeneutics I was studying, and I'm still studying, it is said somewhere at some point, Srila Prabhupada was so furious. It says, what is the use of making sannyasis? No more sannyasis. We don't want sannyasis in our movement anymore. No more sannyasis. And he was very heavy. And so some people may say that because Srila Prabhupada said that there should not be sannyasis anymore in ISKCON. But is that what it means? No. At that material moment, Srila Prabhupada spoke that way to address a situation. So it was a situational thing that we have to go behind as to why Srila Prabhupada spoke that way. And we know soon after that, he himself started making sannyasis. So yes, even if one kills a Brahmin and is still engaged in devotional service, he should be considered saintly, because by such practices, he would come out of his nations, he would come out of his ignorance and be well situated. Again, it is said that when we chant the holy names of the Lord, it purifies us of all sinful reactions. Again, it is the same offenses against the chanting of the holy names warns us that do not commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy names of the Lord. So the mere fact that we chant the holy names of the Lord cleanses us of our sinful activities does not mean that we have to keep on committing sins. And that's what Srila Prabhupada says, that is a mad elephant offense. Okay, I think I'll stop here. Harichakra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Before you go to Harichakra Prabhu, please give me a minute. You're not going very easily. I'm not going to release you very easily on this. So if you were God, Sahadeva, which of the, because you've spoken philosophy nicely, I appreciate the way you explained the subject. But if you were God, and then 2 of your devotees had to pray based on that story, I think I'm hearing that story for the second time. It's an interesting story. Thank you very much for that, Prabhu, for bringing up that story.
Yeah.
So whose prayer are you going to be answering? Because both of them are your devotees. Just like those 2 prayer requests is coming from a dear one to the Father. So which of them? Because the Father has to fulfill their desire anyway. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on that. So if you were God,
that's a very nice question. It's a very nice question. That and I like the way you asked it, because it makes it easier for me to answer. Yes, because your first statement is, if I were God. The problem is that I will never become God. Nobody will ever become God. God is God, and He alone knows how to answer to all these His children. Like we say, the medical doctor is praying to God that, God, this person I'm operating on, help me, I do not want him to die. Nobody wants somebody to die from his hands. So the surgeon is praying to God, I do not want this person to die. Now, there is another person. This surgeon is a son of God. He's praying to God. Because if every time he operates, the person dies, then at some point he will no more be allowed to operate, to work as a surgeon. Because if every time this particular surgeon operates on anybody, that patient dies, at some point he will not be able to work as a surgeon. So he does not want his patients to die from his hands. So he's praying to God, please do not let this patient die from my hands. Yet there is another devotee of the Lord. His sole business is to make caskets, to make coffins. He's not praying that somebody dies, but he's expecting that somebody dies. And if at some point there is nobody dying, he's not going to have money to live on. So he is also praying to God. God, business is bad. What do I do? So what will God do? That is up to God. That is up to God to answer. Somebody doesn't want this person to die. Somebody also wants somebody to die so he can have his business. Everybody wants to have business to live on in this world. So what do? We cannot do anything. Only God knows how to do it. And so one time I shared a very short clip, a video about a situation where there was a sweeper in the temple. He saw Krishna in the temple room on the altar. Krishna had been standing, deity, we all know the deity is always standing there. So he saw Krishna and he prayed to Krishna and says, my Lord, I love you so much. You are doing so much for us. But I feel so hurt seeing you standing all day, all night. Why don't we switch positions? I come to your position, I will stand there, and then you assume my position so you can move around and do something. So Krishna told the sweeper, he says, that is a very laudable idea. The only thing is that you cannot do what I do. I can do what you do, but you cannot do what I do. He says, yes, I know I cannot do what you do, but if you empower me, I will just be able to stand there. So Lord Krishna said, I'll let that be the case. So I will become the sweeper and you will become Lord Krishna standing on the altar. But before they did the swap, Lord Krishna told this sweeper, says, one thing is that every time you see me standing here, I only look, I do not speak. So do not speak, only look and observe. So the sweeper said, okay. And instantly they swapped. So you see the sweeper, his soul entered into the deity, and the deity entered into the body of the sweeper. So that very day, the sweeper was in the temple room sweeping, and then he left, he walked away. So this time, the sweeper is in the image of the deity standing on the altar. So he was witnessing whatever was going on in the temple room. So somebody came and prayed to Krishna, says, I'm very poor. I have Lord. First thing was somebody came and prayed to Krishna, and he had a suitcase. And he forgot about his suitcase and he left. He prayed to Krishna that I am going on, he was a sailor. He was going on the sea, and he came to pray to Krishna for protection. So he forgot his suitcase there. And as soon after he had left, another guy came, a poor guy. He came and then he prayed to Krishna. Says, Krishna, I'm so poor. I have nothing. This is all I have. And like maybe $5 or so, he put it in the donation box. And then he offered his obeisance and he prayed to Krishna. I have nothing. And when he raised up his head, he saw the suitcase and he picked it up. And when he opened it, full of money, and he started giving thanks. Oh, Krishna, you are amazing. This is instant answer to my prayer. And soon after this sailor had left, he remembered that, no, I forgot my suitcase. And then let me see, where was it? So he went back to the temple and he couldn't find it. He couldn't find it. Well, to make the story short, the person, the sweeper who has now assumed the form of the deity, realized that the sailor had come to the temple with to the temple room with the police and was accusing people that somebody has stolen the money. And he said, no, I have not stolen any money. Why don't we ask the deity? We are here before Krishna. Krishna is alive. Let's ask Krishna. And so they asked the deity. And the deity said, oh no, this guy did not steal the money. And then the sailor and the policeman, they said, no, the deity never speaks. So this guy is a crook. He's actually hidden somebody behind the deity speaking. Carry him away. So the essence of that story is that Krishna's story, Krishna's position is a position that no one else can occupy. Only he. Only Krishna knows when to answer one's prayer. And that is why they said that we can pray to Krishna, but he has his own time to answering our prayers. And so when we pray to Krishna and our prayer is not being answered, that means that Krishna knows that it is not the right time for what we're praying for to be given to us. And we should keep praying. And so the fact is that Krishna knows best. He knows how to answer the prayers. And he is, like they said, the politicians, they have big stomach to accept all sorts of insults. No, you and me, we cannot have the strength to withstand all sorts of insults that people will rain against us. But people insult Krishna all the time. Some people even say Krishna does not exist. And this Krishna does not badge. No? So that is the answer I can give, that because Krishna is Krishna, he alone knows when to answer prayers that are directed to him. Hare Krishna. Hare Chakra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Chakra Prabhu, please wait. Sir, I didn't want to run away.
I have to.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Chakra Prabhu, just say something, please. What is it? I know you beautifully answered the question. You push it back.
Yeah,
Right.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
And Hare Chakra Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I'm just drawing Sahadev attention to something he said.
Okay,
I think it escaped him, and I wanted him to correct it.
Okay.
About the story of Arjuna and Jayadratha. And, the person that Arjuna was fighting, that Krishna pushed the chariot down, was Kana, not Jayadratha. And,
okay.
And Jayadratha couldn't fight Arjuna. Jayadratha was scared of Arjuna. Jayadratha never fought Arjuna. It was the benediction he had was that he can defile 4 of the Pandavas. He can defy 4 of the Pandavas, with the exception of if Arjuna is not part of them. And that's why the Kauravas, they find a way to take Arjuna out of the battlefield.
Okay.
And that was why they were able to kill Arjuna's son,
Abhimanyu.
Abhimanyu. And
Yeah.
so Arjuna, when Arjuna vowed that he will kill Jayadratha, so the Kauravas were, they actually secured Jayadratha. They hid him. And so Arjuna did not find even Jayadratha to even do whatever he needed to do until Krishna sent down the sun. And then Jayadratha surfaced that, oh, Arjuna is now going to enter into the fire. That is where Krishna told Arjuna, now do it.
Yeah.
And when Arjuna shot, Krishna told him, direct the head somewhere. And Arjuna was trying to ask question, and Krishna said, don't be stupid, just direct the head.
Yeah.
And so that was where I wanted to draw your attention to.
Oh, okay. Okay, yes. I was, yeah, thank you for the correction, because I think I got it confused, because we discussed that in our class today. That is SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, Canto 15, chapter, Canto 1, chapter 15, text number 20. Let me see, text number, no, it's text number 16. Text number 16. It talks about great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Bhurishrava, Susharma, Shalya, Jayadratha, and Balika all directed their invisible weapons against me. That's Arjuna. But by his, that's Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev, was unaffected by the weapons the demons used against him. So in the puppet, very, very long puppet, and when it came to Jayadratha, it says, another son of Maharaj, Vridakshetra. It says, he also followed the chariot, and through that, the matter was brought to the Pandavas, then attacked the soldiers of Jayadratha and killed them all. And at last, Bhima caught hold of Jayadratha and beat him very severely, almost dead. But I want to read where Lord Krishna pushed the chariot down. Okay, I think I see it here. On the contrary, he was obliged to fight with, okay, let me start here. At this, Arjuna took a vow to kill him. Arjuna took a vow to kill Jayadratha. Okay, and at this, Arjuna took a vow to kill Jayadratha. And on hearing this, Jayadratha wanted to leave the war field and asked permission from the Kauravas for his cowardly action. But he was not allowed to do so. On the contrary, he was obliged to fight with Arjuna. Okay, this is Jayadratha. And while the fight was going on, Lord Krishna reminded Arjuna that the benediction of Shiva upon Jayadratha was that whoever would cause his head to fall on the ground would die at once. He therefore advised Arjuna to throw the head of Jayadratha directly onto the lap of his father, who was engaged in penances at the Samanta Panchaka pilgrimage. This was actually done by Arjuna. Jayadratha's father was surprised to see a severed head on his lap, and he at once threw it to the ground. The father immediately died, his forehead being cracked in 7 pieces. Yeah, so, yeah, Karna was involved, but eventually Arjuna had to fight Jayadratha. Jayadratha actually didn't want to fight Arjuna because he knew that he couldn't fight him. He wanted to escape, but he was not allowed to escape. So from this purport I just read, 1:15:16, Canto 1, chapter 15, text 16, Srila Prabhupada is saying that Arjuna fought Jayadratha, killed him, and Krishna told him, do not let the head fall on the ground. Otherwise, you're going to lose your head. So Lord Krishna directed Arjuna, directed to his father. And actually, I asked a question in that regard, that it was Jayadratha who had to be killed. Why would his father suffer? Because his father eventually also died. And sincerely speaking, my teacher said, at the time he does not know, but obviously there would be a reason why Jayadratha's father also had to die that way. So that's all I can answer to that. But thank you for pointing that out, Arichakra Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Sadi, for the answer. And thank you very much, Arishaka, for
Yeah,
bringing that.
I remember that because we just treated it this morning. Yeah.
Okay, thank you both for the explanation and then reference quoted by Sadi. Before we go too far away from the issues of the doer, Krishna being the doer, I want to come back to that question because it's actually a major philosophical aspect of today's class. Actually, this is what is the focus. But I'm seeing Govinda Prabhu's hand up, and then I like it when we talked about this philosophy and then how it applies to our practical self. I gave a class yesterday, and I was speaking on doubts. So someone asked me a question in the audience, and I was asking the question. He said, Prabhu, you are advising you should have not doubts. Let me give you a practical question. You have someone, I asked him to make it specific to cut the long story short. So your devotee is, he has come before you. You are asking him, don't have doubts in Krishna consciousness, continue your devotion, chant Hare Krishna. But this person has a business, he has a shop, there are no goods inside his shop. He is struggling, he doesn't have money to buy goods to put in the shop, talk less of being able to sell. And somehow or the other, he has lost whatever he has, but he has not got money to buy goods inside the shop, meaning that he's not going to be able to pay his bills. So because of that, he's not able to concentrate on his devotion. He's not able to come to the temple. He's not able to chant his Hare Krishna. You ask us to chant with attention. When he carries the bead, he forgets that anxiety takes him off, so he drops the bead. So then you said he should not have doubt. He should keep on chanting. So how does one get concentrated and not have doubt in this kind of a situation? Because on one side, he's chanting, he is following whatever is required to be followed, regulative principles. But at the same time, all of these situations are even seemingly increasing. So how does he do? And I'm giving you these questions. I find a way to manage as Achinta Beda, I did like you. I use Achinta Beda Atatua to answer him. So that is why I'm coming back to this question.
That should be easy for you to answer, because luckily for you, I know you're asking this question, of course. Usually we ask questions for our own purification and also for the purification of the audience. So I know very well that you could have answered this question with ease, because you've already studied the hermeneutics. If a devotee here hasn't studied the hermeneutics, I am on my knees that please, whatever it takes you, try and take this course. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You will learn so many things you've never thought of, no matter how many years you've been a devotee. It's incredible. And so in the hermeneutics, this same thing is is very, very nicely addressed, doubts. Oftentimes, we as devotees become so surprised when somebody expresses doubt, but we learn, at least in my case, I'm still learning. I think this week will be our final week for the class. I've learned so far from the hermeneutics that our three references, Sadhu, Shastra, Guru, these are the parameters, our three parameters. When all these three tell us the same thing, we know it's true. But even if someone gets to know a particular statement made by all these three parameters, one is still allowed to have doubts. That means that we are using our intelligence. Lord Krishna and Arjuna, they discuss this Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita we have is the most amazing scripture you can ever think of in this world. And it all came about as a matter of doubts. Arjuna had doubts. And because he had doubts, he put forth his doubts before the right person. And because he put the doubts before the right person was able to clear his doubts. And so, yes, doubts must be there. And when someone has doubts and asks questions, that means that person is intelligent. So if someone has a business praying to Krishna and everything is falling apart, then he will have doubts. Where is my Krishna? Krishna says he will protect me. Krishna says, what you do not have, I will supply you. What you will have, I will protect it. Why, if Krishna is not even supplying me what I lack, why is he not protecting what I have? So every devotee going through such a situation has every right to have doubts. Is Krishna the Supreme Lord as he claims to be? Or if Krishna is the Supreme Lord, why is he not fulfilling his own promise? And so to me, when a devotee has doubt, he has every right to have doubt. The only thing I will say is that whatever doubts we may have should not be so bad to the point that we stay away from Krishna's lotus feet. Because no matter how or where we run to, the same problems are going to follow us. Like Gurudev Bhakta Maharaj used to say, if you are on the plane in the sky and there is commotion going on the plane, what do? Are you going to say, there is so much commotion, I can't stand these stupid people on this plane, I'm getting out of the plane? How are you going to do that? You can't do that. Or like maybe you have a psychiatry problem and you take him to the psychiatry ward, but your problem is not so bad, so you can see the craziness of others. And you see the craziness of others and you say, oh, all the people here are crazy. I can't stand these people anymore. I'm packing my things and go home. Are you helping yourself? And so no matter what doubts, no matter what difficulties, challenges we may have, we still have to stay in here and then ask questions. Why? I did this, I did that, and that is not happening. And then we will have better answers to our doubts and our queries. Hare Krishna. And I'm sure that is exactly what we did, because I joined this hermeneutics based on your inspiration and encouragement. And I can't thank you enough, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
I can't thank you enough.
I'm still going to come back. This is a very deep, I love this first section of this chapter so much because I think I've studied it once under some tutelage. I'm studying it again. And I just wrote in an exam on this section also. So yeah. It's confusing actually. a lot of nectar that is inside this section of the Bhagavatam.
Yes.
Let's hear from Govinda. Govinda Prabhu, please kindly unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Dandava Pranams.
Hare Krishna, Shri Govinda Adi Purushottama Hambajami.
Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you. Yes, we should have doubts. We can't be doubtful of Krishna if he's actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we should also ask ourselves, Krishna says he will protect you according to how much you surrender. So if what we are expecting from Krishna is not coming forth, then we can also ask ourselves whether we are actually doing right. Because the percentage we offer Krishna, we surrender to Krishna, that's how much he rewards us. Anyway, my question is that of, it's very interesting, this discussion this morning. You know, prayer to Krishna by different people. Who is Krishna answering? Everybody is praying. Everybody is praying. Doctor is praying, you know, people go and build hospitals. They want a better location so that they could get more customers. Means they are praying that people should fall sick.
Yeah.
I know the patients are not coming and say, my work is very slow today.
Yeah.
And individuals are also praying they should not fall sick. So if Krishna is protecting these individuals praying, he should protect them not to fall sick, then how are the doctors going to pay their bills? How are they going to, you know, feed their family? So Krishna is going to answer to the doctors and also answer to the people praying not to fall sick.
Yeah.
Then what is going to happen? You know, a person making the coffin is praying, you know, my work is very slow. That means that he's praying people should die.
Yeah.
And we can say that is very demonic prayer. How can you pray people should die? But that is his profession. And his profession has been awarded based on his previous life, his intentions and desires. And so he is occupying that position as a coffin maker. And so everybody, you know, is praying to Krishna. Who should Krishna answer and who he should not answer? But my question is, where do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line between this law of karma and prayer? Does Krishna actually answer our prayers, or things that are happened, must happen in our life will definitely happen because of our previous lives? Because there are many people who don't pray, but they are rich. They get everything. Just like you know, Krishna was advising, he's preaching to his father, you know, about stopping Indra worship. You know, those who are not praying, it's still raining, and when it rains, everybody gets his share. So why do you have to worship Indra purposely? Because he's supplying rain. So if the law of karma is actually working, then whatever I'm supposed to get in this lifetime will come to pass, whether I pray or not. But I want you to draw the line, you know, between this law of karma and the reaction to our karma and prayer.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you. It's great, Govinda Prabhu. I'm happy you asked me. Your question, I will consider it intermediate. It's an intermediate question, knowing how much heavily loaded questions you can ask. So thank you for being kind upon me. Well, prayer and karma, it is very, very difficult to tell. See, that is why as devotees of the Lord actually incapacitate Krishna, because it's so difficult when you're working with somebody, when you're dealing with somebody, and all this person does is that he always does something good for you. He's always serving you. He's always serving you. So at some point, you also want to do something in return. But whenever you attempt to do something in return to this nice person, he says, no, 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 no. So it makes it very difficult for Krishna, because pure devotees of the Lord do not even want anything from Krishna. They don't ask Krishna for anything, no help, nothing. And so Lord Krishna, hold on for a second, please. Sorry, devotees, Hare Krishna, I'm sorry.
You're welcome.
Sometimes I wonder how His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj was always smiling, because lately I've become so busy. I'm talking to this person, I'm talking to that person, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I don't have enough time for myself. And therefore I'm unable to put a smiling face on my face. So as we were talking, you see how I've had lots of distractions. But as devotees, we do not even pray to Krishna for anything. And as such, it makes it difficult for Krishna to try to pay us back of all the services we render to him. And that is why oftentimes it is said that those who are pure devotees of the Lord, the unalloyed devotees of the Lord, if you do anything against them, Krishna himself will directly deal with you seriously, because they're not going to ask anything to protect themselves. They just depend on Krishna. So there is a story as to how, in fact, that also was very much discussed today in my SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM class. It talks about, Srila Prabhupada was talking about in that chapter, sorry, here, I missed it here. Srila Prabhupada was talking about how Lord Krishna married his wives. So this is also found in Canto 1, Chapter 15, text number 20. This was when Arjuna was recounting how powerful he used to be, and now Krishna left, took away his powers, and he is unable to protect his wives, to protect Krishna's wives. So Arjuna is lamenting that an ordinary person just came and was able to defeat me and was able to capture all these wives of Krishna. But in the purport, it is said that the seemly wretch who came to kidnap the women was none but Krishna himself, because nobody else can touch the wives of Krishna except Krishna himself. So Krishna assumed the form of a seemly wretch and came in and was able to defeat Arjuna. So in that purport, which is 1:15:20, I don't know if, okay, you put it there. Okay, yes. Right here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has justified the contradiction by research in the Vishnu Purana and the Brahma Purana. In these Puranas, it is said that once the fair denizens of heaven pleased Ashtavakra Muni by their service and were blessed by the Muni to have the Supreme Lord as their husband, Ashtavakra Muni was curved in 8 joints of his body, and thus he used to move in a peculiar curved manner. The daughters of the demigods could not check their laughter upon seeing the movements of the Muni, and the Muni, being angry at them, cursed them, and that they will be kidnapped by rogues, even if they would get the Lord as their husband. Later on, the girls again satisfied the Muni by their prayers. So again, here prayers get answered. They were able to please or satisfy the Muni by their prayers, and the Muni blessed them that they would regain their husband even after being robbed by the rogues. So in order to keep the words of the great Muni, the Lord himself kidnapped his wives from the protection of Arjuna. Otherwise, they would have at once vanished from the scene as soon as they were touched by the rogues. Besides that, some of the gopis who prayed to become wives of the Lord returned to their respective positions, that their desire was fulfilled. So thank you for putting that up, Salika Prabhu. And I hope Govinda Prabhu's question is answered from this purport, so nicely given by Sri Prabhupada here, that Ashtavakra Muni was laughed at, and because he was laughed at, he cursed the daughters of the demigods. And again, because they were able to please Ashtavakra Muni with prayers, Ashtavakra Muni again blessed them that even when you get married to the Supreme Lord and you get touched by rogue, you're still going to be protected. So Lord Krishna had to fulfill the curses of Ashtavakra Muni. So one, it was through Ashtavakra Muni's curse, which appeared oftentimes when someone is cursed, it's bad, right? But from this curse, these daughters, Damodara Pandit, please mute yourself. Salika, you may have to mute Dinesh also. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so when a Muni or a great person, a great devotee of the Lord makes a pronouncement, somehow Krishna will make it happen. And so Krishna making somebody's prayer answered is based on his own time. You know, we have our own time zone, and Krishna has his own time zone. And that is why the other time we were talking about Krishna being an autocrat. His Grace Salika Prabhu referenced us to Sri Upanishad, where it is said that Krishna is a transcendental autocrat. So being a transcendental autocrat, he decides when to answer a particular prayer. And if it is karma, it's already designed as to when a particular situation has to take effect. And karma has different stages. There are different stages in our karma that it can be uprooted, it can be adjusted, it can be completely changed, or it cannot be stopped. So it all depends, and all depends means that it's in the hands of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Shri Govinda Prabhu. I don't know if my answer helped answer your question.
Thank you very much, Sadi.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Govinda Prabhu, for the question. Yeah, this topic can go on and on. I'm looking at the time, it's 2 hours we've been on this class, and then Sahadev is already getting so much distractions here and there. I know that it's
so I have to do something else, but I cannot leave until you let me go.
So it is on that note, I will let you go. I will let you go, but with the permission of all of the devotees.
Thank you for being merciful on me.
So dear devotees, if there are no any other comments, or if there are last comments or contributions, this topic is interesting. For the next 2-3 verses, these same discussions will go on. So I think we will get opportunity to ask further questions relating to these questions as we go on in this. The next 3-4 verses actually are dealing with the same subject. So I think we have an opportunity today. So I'm begging on behalf of my dear friend, Suman Sahadeva, that we let him go for today. So we'll come back to him some other time. Thank you very much, everyone, for being part of this class. It's beautiful. It's an interesting. Bhagavatam is life. It's the light into the darkness of this age and in our individual lives. So it's a pleasure, it's a bliss when we have opportunity to come at this moment of the day to come and hear and share realization of Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you all for being here. It's on this note, we want to thank Sadi for you very much for giving us time to take this responsibility. As he mentioned earlier in the beginning of the class, somebody else was supposed to give this class, but he's busy with some other activities. So he has to step in to do this. So we thank you very much in spite of your difficult and tight schedule. You have to share so many other things to do the class. So we thank you so much for sacrificing in this manner. And we pray that Guru and Krishna will bless you accordingly with this service. So at this point, let's all act together now, appreciate His grace by kindly unmuting ourselves and to do the daily ritual. Let's loudly chant a very powerful Krishna mantra to appreciate him and ourselves for being in this class. Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
I'll answer Kuti by Hare Hare. So thank you all.